Ven is going to be piloting that rampage in the jungle. Has always performed on Feng Mao. I can't think of the last time where I've seen him in a game on Feng Mao where he hasn't gone 8-0 by the end of the game or something like that. So I think Ronin has to have some sort of priority on that offlane, make sure he can't get ahead, make sure that he can't just free farm in that early game to get to that mid game point where he can just rotate into those fang teeth fights and just clean up. However, as well, we didn't really talk about it too much, but I think that is just the most broken mid lane hero in the game. I think he just does way too much damage. He can escape stuff way too well, even with the landmine boop or with the make it rain extra speed with the augments. And obviously then he showed what he can do in Rampage last game. I don't expect anything different this game, so I am very scared of many men's draft. I think that individually they have very strong picks, but cohesively Ronin has the better draft.
An argument of inevitability, kind of a little bit like the Thanos snap. It is coming as far as the late game goes versus the cohesion and the ease of play coming onto the other side. I think everyone here on the desk can agree Ronin made the necessary changes to possibly push us to a game 3, but we can't see that here on the desk. We're sending it back to Bengal Pack for game 2.
Yo, shout out to the desk. Appreciate y'all on the analysis. Now we're hopping right into the game. Game number 2 of this lower bracket semifinals. We've got Segue, Secret Meyer, Ven, the Many Men's versus Ronin. Taking a look here at the augments. What is everyone doing? Pretty standard stuff across the board. Nothing too crazy, nothing you have not seen before. But now, hopping into the game, I want to speak to the draft a little bit. Bengal Mac, tell me, what are your thoughts before I give you mine?
I just, I'm not a fan of the Greystone pick. Once again,
wait a minute.
You know, Many Men's has some verticality in the highway, so it's hard for Durali to be able to kind of rotate to duo lane. They have the ability to be able to CC with the Rampage as well as root with the Revenant. So it's gonna be really hard for Durali to kind of to do a lot in team fights. However, they do have big circles. So big circles are good. They have the Ure ult, which is nice. They have a lot of poke with Kimbo. They have the Decker Cage, as we see Secret getting kind of chunked out here. He's got to be careful. But they have big circles. They have the slow from Durali when he's ulting. They have the Gideon ult. They have the Decker Cage. They have the Ure ult. So big circles. And then they have the Wraith, being able to do a lot of damage. But but they have Gideon ADC on it. It's time for me. I got to wake up here a little bit here. I got NA brain right now.
Yep. I mean, to me, it kind of makes sense. It feels memey, feels trolly, but like, a Gideon Rock into a root, into a Decker stun, it's going to be extremely oppressive in the dual lane. If they can snowball with that, Many Men's, they're not going to be able to step up. And then the Wraith in mid also makes sense because it's a Howie, right? He's just this giant hitbox. You should be able to get free snipes on him all game. Meyer's not going to be able to dodge him. So interesting team comp, interesting decision, but it's a matter of can they snowball with it. That's going to be the kicker here because the Many Men's, they do have that dive composition. They will be able to get on that back line with that Muriel, the team fight engage. So Ronin, I think so far with the pretty interesting team comp, but again, it's going to come down to execution as this game goes on.
Yeah, I mean, now that I think about it, I mean, it's a bit smart, coming out of lane tend to struggle just a bit, and they were able to play it safe a bit. As we see here at Gank, Rock lining up. Will he throw it? He throws it. It will miss. Remy is able to get out safely. He does have to expend that flash, as we see here a fight here in the mid lane.
Yeah, Flame realizing he's extremely far ahead on Ven, able to just continue the aggression. That's going to be actually Remy to secure the first blood. Flame getting an assist, and I think they don't even have the seedlings available. This is just an immediate reset. Grab your 5, grab your 2, and then go for that free seedling. So a nice start here for Ronin. A little bit of a different pace setting as M is behind in that off lane. Girali able to poke him out. And this is kind of a matchup that, I mean, you don't really expect M to win it per se. Greystone should win that, but will M be able to rotate is going to be the question and try and secure some elims elsewhere on the map to get those stacks. Dual lane now pushed up over yonder. And yeah, things looking interesting as Ronan kind of pushing it and shoving it to Veni Ven's Many Men's.
Yeah, and you know, Roden coming out with some cookage. I like it. I think one thing that a lot of people don't talk about enough is, you know, it's a bit of a weird team comp, but it might not be the most effective per se. But I think what a lot of people don't talk about is how many times have you played into a Gideon Decker lane? You don't really know what to expect because you've never really had that experience. Yeah, you've
É
you
muito
played
chato
into
você
Twin
jogar
Watch,
de
you
raio
played
contra o
into
Wraith, mano.
Red,
Meu
you
amigo.
played into all these ADCs, but it's kind of a weird
Pá.
matchup. So it's gonna be weird for Vetemens to be able to navigate kind of this dual lane matchup just because they've really never experienced it. As we see M rotate here for this seedling, help out Ven be able to get some of those seedlings. I believe they were able to pick up both. I could be wrong, but I believe they were able to get both for their troubles. As we see, both teams are starting to rotate for these objectives. Fangtooth has now just spawned being.
Bom dia, DDM. Salam aleikum.
Yeah, and you're correct. Ronan did manage to secure both seedlings. So good on, or excuse me, Veni Ven's Many Men's able to secure both seedlings. Ronan, though, continuing to scale, continuing to maintain the current lead that they have. But more to your point, this quick play comp over in the dual lane, the Decker, the Gideon, it shouldn't necessarily work at this level, but at the same time, they're able to execute it.
Como é que tá aí, velho? Bom dia.
Then it starts working, and it's like, this shouldn't be working, and you get more and more frustrated as the game goes on. It's a matter of keeping your head and not allowing the snowball to occur. So I think interesting to see how they're going to be able to handle it as it goes forward, because not a lot of CC on their side. They need CC as an answer. They have some, but is it enough? Now positioning for this Fangtooth on the side of Veni Ven's Many Men's and Ronan, but no, nothing being forced out just yet. We had that initial first blood, that initial aggression, but I think both teams kind of settling in now, realizing that this is going to be more of a farming game. Let's farm up, get to our level 6s, and then see what we can do going forward. No mistakes so far in this the early game as we're hitting the 6 minutes and 30-second mark.
Yeah, I mean, right now it's a lot slower paced game than we saw in game 1. Ronan playing a bit safer, really respecting the ability of Vetemens. You know, they were able to kind of see what they were able to do in game 1. They see it now, they understand it now, as some might say. And Jurali, much different. We see in game 1.
Greystone tá fazendo soberano. A galera tá fazendo muito soberano de Greystone.
He was on in this offline matchup. I think with Ronan taking the Decker for themselves, I think it kind of forced M to be able to play a champ who has that dash to be able to go through the cage, and not be able to play Terra, because Decker is just such a great character overall. As we see here, both health bars are getting a bit low here. M has to be careful.
I think M
Oh shit!
back. He does manage to
Oh shit!
I think G Raleigh just a little bit slow to activate the ultimate there in that situation, and now
Mano, porque o Greystone só não voltou,
looking
velho.
for a rotate, not able to get there.
Ele quis baitar a ult dele com a ult do Fegmal e acabou morrendo.
Also on the board and pulling that mini prime. They have vision on the Fangtooth, so this is essentially free. Ronan completely unaware that this is happening.
Ué, e os caras nem cobraram nem fizeram a cobrança do Fang.
Run over to his red side. The dual lane does have prio, so no ability to pull that Fangtooth with the indication of the orb prime, and now positioning for the Fangtooth is
Salve, coelhão.
Interesting to see how this continues and how this continues to shape up.
Nossa, mano, é muito triste você jogar de raio contra o Wraith, mano. Puta que pariu. Tirou duas ults. É, mas esse invade vai ser ruim, hein?
Flame does go down. Now Decker in a lot of trouble. The Gideon black hole is coming out, but
a ult do Gideon foi boa, mas ele não tem dano. E aí, triple kill na mão de um Revenant. Fang. Os caras tinham feito mini prime.
So much just happened. Segue goes massive, but
É, esse invade aí saiu caro, velho.
why my mid laner is backing in mid while we have a big giant team fight. They get the solo bolo onto Howie in the mid lane, so they're able to get that. But I'm curious as to why we're not seeing that rotate. They're able to kind of get those river buffs and get some mana back in their pocket. I mean, the health bars were decently low. Maybe try and get a pick or something, but I'm kind of surprised we didn't see a rotate from Remy here.
É, o Howie é só um saco de pancada agora.
The mirror ult does come out. That's a reversal of fortune. I'm surprised that the duo lane and Gideon didn't rotate a bit faster. They were able to get a black hole as we see Chich here is going to fall to Myers, so maybe getting a bit aggressive. It's good that we're seeing that Remy is winning kind of this lane really hard. It's becoming harder and harder for them to be in lane, but I'd like to see them be more active in the team fights instead of these 1v1s.
Yeah, for sure. And Flame now, I think, realizing
Ih,
that
bicho.
is gonna be the lane he wants to play.
Acho que esse bicho tá doidão nos invade, velho.
In a 1v3, I think the Wraith
Oxi.
saw what was happening, allowed the duo to walk past him, but he didn't want to fully engage there.
Mano,
Probably opting to spam, back
que
up.
várzea do caralho.
Go well, but already in that position.
Mano, parece que os caras estão numa ranqueada, velho.
Transaction for him, and now many men's looking like they're
O Diogo invadindo sozinho.
yet again. It's starting to roll down hills. Rampage Behemoth coming
Matou
out
ainda,
in mid,
mas morreu.
Remy to secure the Elam, but it
Acabou o
doesn't
jogo,
matter
velho.
as the duo
Pegou o shutdown.
Sagu able to rotate and secure the
Rapaz.
shutdown onto Remy. That is massive as Sagu.
Quem é que vai parar esse Revenant aí do Sagu?
Stun not going out as well as this mid now being sieged, and many men's looking very strong going forward.
Yeah, Vedi Men's, I think they're kind of answering the call here. I like their answer to what Ronan has been doing. I like taking the Howie and placing in the duo lane, getting him out of that lane of that Wraith. But we see Jarala here, health bar low. Hopefully he ults this time. Leap is going to have to come out. But we do see that M does have that ult online as we see Jarala go back in. He's got to be careful.
Vai morrer de novo se tu não lutar, velho. Tá querendo beitar a ult aí.
Man, he's playing with fire right now. M's Fang Mao is something fierce.
Oh no.
He's gonna be as he uses the ult this time. M
Nossa, olha a vida dele.
So I
Ele
like
tá indo
what
pra
M is
Dracono
doing
de
here.
segundo
I
item.
think mostly he's playing to get the ult out and look for a kill on the next turnabout. So M playing it smart, make sure he doesn't get picked off by that. But I like what Vedi Men's is answering here into the side of Team Ronan's comp. They're able to kind of get those lane swaps in there, get Sagu into that mid lane, into that Wraith. That way Howie can farm a bit more, be able to be a bit of a safer laner. But he does have to be careful, if he gets hit by that infinite void augment that we see here that Howie that the Gideon has. He has to be careful.
Nossa, puxou na ult. Mas tá na torre.
Here in the mid lane.
Remy does not want to die.
Nossa, ainda matou. Mano, ele fechou o Imperator de segundo item. Quem é que vai tocar esse homem, meu? Quem é que vai tocar esse Revenant, velho?
Carrying this game for the side of Ronan. That was the lane to play through, but now Sagu is extremely massive. The Muriel ult coming out.
Tá sem ult, né? Matou ainda. Mano, a quarta bala do Heavy deve tirar mais da metade da vida do que todo mundo aí, menos o Greystone. É, velho. Cheirinho de 2-0 da porra. O próximo Fang vai definir aí se eles vão givar ou não. E aí, Espinosa, bom dia.
I mean, I think the answer is to essentially match the lane swap. I think you bring the Gideon and you bring the Decker over into this mid lane, or at least you bring the Decker into the mid lane. With the Muriel and the Revenant there, they're putting a lot of pressure.
Bom dia, Enzo.
And they're going to be really close to knocking down that.
De buenas, de buenas.
In the current meta, I think that the T1 is the second most important tower in the game outside. The mid T1 is the most important tower in the game outside.
Eles vão querer fazer esse Fang mesmo, mano? Vão querer limpar a visão e fazer esse Fang, mano? Os caras não vão givar. Heavy não tem ult, mas deve estar voltando. O Gideon nem tá batendo. Oxi.
Now 7 kills on the Revenant. He is continuing to snowball over here. He is essentially the raid boss for Many Men's. It is protect the Revenant. He's gonna win the game, and that is exactly
Mano, isso aí é só guivar, velho.
On the side of Ronin, they're gonna be able to get this Fangtooth essentially for free. Not really much can be done about it. They're going in. Flame does come in with the
belo combo.
but it doesn't
Tem que
matter.
matar o Heavy.
Many Men's able to cure the Fangtooth.
Nossa. É aquele negócio, tendo um Fang mal.
The Wraith do end up going down. Lots of low HP. The Greystone ult coming out in mid, but I don't think
Oxi.
that's enough as the Make It Rain comes out. The
Oh.
Muriel shields negate most of that.
É, mano, saiu caro isso aí, velho. Pegou shutdown, pegou, mas pô, tá saindo caro. Eles ficaram com o segundo Fang. Foram 3 abates a 2.
The 3 picks as well as the Fangtooth, as well as the mid T1. So, I mean, if you're on the side of Ronin, you have to be careful with how you're playing this game. I would like for Ronin to play a bit more around Kimbo on that Gideon. I think they're missing out on a lot of engage potential, a lot of combos available with that torrent space to be able to engage and really catch them off guard. You know, they kind of just pushed R buttons over the top on Flame Pokken. I really would have seen that torrent space come out with that Gideon ult, and then for that Ure to go through the torrent space and then be able to get on top of them and then push the R to get on top of them even more. So
porque, véi, qual o problema dessa Yurei tem? Que ela sempre que acertar a habilidade, ela tem que ir pra cima, mano. Qual o problema desse cara, mano? Qual o problema desse cara, véi? Mano, ele vê um alvo. Ele acertou a adaga, ele tem que dar o dash pra ir pra cima, mano. E ele sempre vai solo, velho. Olha como o time dele tá setado, velho. Meu amigo. Deu mini prime e deu baratão. Caralho. Ah, porra. Olha o dano. Ah, ele fez Fortaleza, velho. Caralho. Olha o dano dessa porra. Right now for Ronin is going to be that off lane. Try and play through that a little bit more. Rampage though. Como assim o quê? Into the jungle. Segue in support. Not really much answer here. Continue to chase. The Revenant is in low. Can they secure the kill? And it's going to be Wraith. Não, eu nada.
This is exactly what they need right now.
Yeah, I want to see if Flame
Lá ele.
with his team a bit more. It felt like up until this moment, he's been playing kind of a lot of 1v1s, 1v2s, 1v3s at some point. I want to see him.
Mano, o cara tá invadindo de novo, mano. O cara tá invadindo de novo sem mana. O cara tá de novo invadindo, mano. Mano, você tem um problema. Você tem um sério problema, mano. Olha isso aí, velho. Caralho, bicho. Vai morrer pro Girino. Vai morrer. Parabéns, mano. Você é uma aberração da natureza, mano. Puta que pariu. Olha esse cara, mano. Meu amigo. Mano, olha esse Yurei jogando, Espinosa. Mano, olha esse Yurei jogando, velho. Se não falar que esse cara tá tiltado. Mano. Sagu vai limpar os dois aí se os caras vacilar. Mano, que porra é essa, velho? Mano, temos na semifinal do campeonato uma Yurei morrendo pro Girino, mano. É.
Man, you know, can we make sure we get a graphic for how many kills that the River Buffs got this BCC? One up for the River Buff onto that Ure.
Yep, the River Buff might lose most of the time, but this time he stays winning. Now, looking forward, we have the next Fangtooth.
Seguido tá bem farmado, mano.
And a half. The third Fangtooth, though, Many Men's would love to get this one online, and I think it might secure the snowball. Nonetheless, Ronin has been able to at least answer.
Mano, se tiver um Robocombo aí da Yurei com o Gideon, Existe um mundo matando o Heavy e o Howie. É, mas a Yurei já tá morta já. Esquece. Yurei já tá sem vida já. A Yurei tava sem mana, sem vida e foi fazer o girinho e morreu. Pelo amor de Deus, homem. Resetam. Já era, o Feng é deles. O Heavy tem outro. O cara entrou. Meu amigo. Olha isso, velho. Sério mesmo, mano. Cara, eu não assisti o primeiro jogo. Mas assim, pra uma semifinal, esse cara aí, ele não acordou bem não, velho. Vamos pro Prime. Aí é Snowball. Eles não vão dar espaço pros caras respirar, não.
Yeah, I mean, like I said before, I would really like them to see the combination of their engage potential. I don't think they're using their engage potential.
Eles não vão dar nem chance dos caras respirar e voltar pro jogo.
You know, I want to see them, you know, really fight together as a team. They were very slow to act on that Fang Tooth. They really played that corner, and as a result, they kind of paid for it. I feel like, you know, as you know, my coach told me one time, you know, if you're ever going to do something, do it at 150%.
A diferença de gold já tá enorme. 7k.
Commit to whatever it is to do. And right now, you know, Ronan, we're failing them to see kind of commit to a play. Last time they committed
Sagu está 10-2. Quase com o quarto item fechado. Mano, esse Heavy tá muito giga, velho. Puta que pariu.
And then Remy has to play his life. You know, that Fang Mao is going to dive onto him. So he has to play his life and be careful and trust that his team is going to get that
É, meu nobre.
the big circle comp, as I like to call this team, and get that damage onto the rest of the team.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest problem here.
Rampage vai tancar pra caralho agora. Cara, aqui é 2-0. Só não é 2-0 se eles conseguirem cozinhar aí por uns 20 minutos. 20 não, mas pelo menos uns 10-15. Sem morrer. Só perdendo torre. E farmando. E olha lá.
At this point, it's like you can't really dive the dive, right? If you dive the dive, you're gonna get dove, and then it's GG from there. As they have the big prime now sieging the inhib. Secret's gonna be able to get this one in the dual lane for free. The mid inhib is being sieged. The off lane is doing what he can. G Raleigh trying to push off some of the aggression to pick.
Cara, esse Greystone tá batendo, viu?
But can he chase that Feng Mao? I don't think so. Feng Mao is still faster, unfortunately.
Foi bom, Espinosa. Vamos treinar aí, mano. Tamo junto.
And they should be able to secure this inhib in mid. Now Benny Men's in the driver's seat, looking to continue this aggression down mid. I'm not sure that Ronan has any answer for this.
Yeah, I mean, you know, they're kind of.
Tá bom, vamos farmar a esquerda. Vamos farmar a esquerda. Olha os minions na esquerda entrando, velho.
They're going to look to try and take this Shaper here for the side of Benny Men's. Both inhibs down for that dual lane and for that mid lane side of things. As we're seeing just a lot of pressure as Flame getting almost caught out here.
Meu amigo, a senhorei tá na fome, viu?
I feel like Remy's been playing, Flame Pocket has been kind of playing an individual game. And I would really love him to see him play with his team, walk with his team, and engage with his team. It just feels like Benny Men's has been doing that a lot more successfully as a team and playing team as a whole. So I really need to see Ronan come together.
Vai ter que deixar a Yurei farmar com alguém aí, porque senão acabou o jogo dela faz tempo. Aí ela vai ser... Vai ficar de lado. Ela tem que farmar alguma coisa.
Force the Revenant ult onto the Greystone. That's the perfect engage that they can get. Because the Greystone can at least weather the storm in there. He can deal some damage, potentially kill the Revenant while the Wraith is doing damage. Meanwhile, you got to keep the Wraith safe. So the Decker needs to be peeling for the Wraith in this scenario, not allow the dive to dive the Wraith.
E aí, Shockwave?
And then there's some potential. But the problem is they have all the objectives on the side of Many Men's. They're extremely strong. They're ahead in gold. So it's not, I don't think they're going to give them the scenario that they need in order to come back into this game.
Yeah, I mean, they really need to go look for, I mean, I don't know if this is an international term that's used a lot, but in the States, we like to call it a Hail Mary for those of you that watch American football. But they need a Hail Mary here. They need to set it on something. They need to make a play. They can't just give
porra, o Howie.
for free. They have to go in there as we see.
Bom dia, Lucas da Massa.
Yeah, Chiefs does engage, but the
Morreu.
is going to go on the side of Many Men's. His flame was in the back. M now forced
GG.
to take out M.
Go
does
Hazard.
take out Remy. He does take out the Ure as well. Flame in the back. Sagu also securing Elims. It is a 1v5 double kill on double kill. It's only G.
Cara, esse jogo aqui teve nem
doesn't have the clear to do this as the core is already extremely low. Many men's able to
Graças a Yorei foi o lateral pra caralho, mano. Mano, que é isso que eu vi aqui, velho.
Nightshade EU to play.
Yeah, and this is a revenge match for Many Men's.
Bom dia aí pra quem tá chegando aí pelo YouTube e pela Twitch. Do Razero, acho que é MD3 essa semifinal aqui. É MD3. Agora o próximo é jogão. NS e Venivens, agora é jogão.
Closing thoughts are Many Men's looking good. Sagu coming back was a great choice for them. He's looking like a Giga Chad over there in the dual lane. Very much playing the role that he needs to play. And I look forward to seeing more of him in the future. Desk, go ahead and take it away. Let's see what you guys got.
Dude, thank you guys so much, Bengal Pack. We're back again after a dominating performance the entirety of this set. I'm just going to call a spade here. A lot of MVPs to be able to touch base on, but Tang, I want to touch base with you first and foremost.
Aproveitar pra me assoar.
How are you feeling about this team and Many Men?
I mean, to be honest, like, they have impressed me quite a bit, right? Like, I think everything that sort of could be a problem for them, they have shown that they have worked on it, right? I think the drafting was a bit of an issue there if we remember back 2 weeks ago, and then also like their mid to late game. I think they've always been good in the early game, but being able to close out games, being able to not give over those leads, I mean, they have just been looking fantastic. And of course, partly the reason is, of course, getting Solly back on that ADC role, like Septic himself.
E aí, como é que tá a jogatina da galera, mano? Como é que tá o SAzinho aí de manhã no sabadão? Ou ninguém tá jogando?
Definitely one of them, and we saw it on that Revenant. That being said, got out to a little bit of an early lead, but Falcon, we were, doing a little bit of chatting in between the games, and it feels like it has to be said, the contributions that were made by Sagu within this game, it could be a defining key factor, correct, in how they could possibly win in this next set.
It's something that they definitely need to look into. I mean, a small lead is very mildly, I think, that Ego having 3 kills within the first 10 minutes on a Revenant. Obviously, the bounty on his passive obviously giving him more gold compared to...
Não demore muito, que o próximo é jogão, velho. O próximo vai ser um jogo bom da porra. Olha isso aí, velho. Meu Deus do céu, velho. Meu Deus do céu. Olha o cara... Olha os caras tentando não rir, mano. Não tem como não rir, né, velho? Pelo amor de Deus, pô. Deixa eu ver os comentários aqui.
But did play really well as well. So I think that into Nice EU, where you have got maybe the GOAT of ADCs at the moment in time.
Do nada, mano. Laleló, ranqueada CVSA, mano. Laleló, sinto lhe dizer, mano. Sinto lhe dizer.
Honestly, play good. Hopefully you're winning. And within that game 1, as you did touch on, Tang, this team looked extraordinary. That being said, they're not going against any slouches, man. Nightshade EU, we've seen them win a surplus of these games in definitive, dominating fashion. They're going to have to maybe step the game up just a little bit more, but step it into that matchup.
Yeah.
If they win, they make it to the grand finals. If they lose, they are out. How are you feeling about the matchup between these 2 teams?
Yeah, there's obviously a lot of pride, a lot of money as well on the line. I think if when I woke up today, I was actually thinking, so what are the probabilities of them winning, right? Prior to the set, I would have said, okay, it's like maybe 25, maybe 30% of Many Men's actually bringing it to Nightshade. If we think back to Summer PCC, this is the duo lane of Team Immune together with the mid jungle duo of Team Zen back in the days, right? And then Bond Root from Many Mans, right? So it's sort of this Frankenstein monster of like all the top EU teams that we have. So as you guys were saying, right? Like this is the big testing stone. Like in a lot of people's eyes, this is actually already sort of the favorites to win it all, even though they did lose to Indecisive, of course, 2 weeks ago. So yeah, I mean, Nightshade, like Falcon was saying it, Neft on the ADC role, that's going to be a big hurdle to overcome. But Sagu, on with a performance like this today, I think they are definitely in reach, right? They definitely have a shot to beat them.
Sharp, straight to the point. So I'm going to quote our boy Lance here. In order to be the man, you have to beat the man. Falcon, before we make our way into the break, I just want to get a brief intake on if you think this team has what it takes.
I think any team has always the opportunity.
Bora pro próximo jogo. O próximo jogo é jogão.
If we look at the stats, if we look at the history, if we look at all of that, I still feel like Nightshade EU are the heavy favorites. If you look at the scrim results since the last patch, I think Nightshade EU are the heavy favorites. But anything can happen on game day.
Yes, sir. And we've teased the people for long enough, and we're going to do it for a little bit more still. Ladies and gentlemen, don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back with you with some more Predecessor action. It's Nightshade EU versus Vinny Mins Mini Mins coming up next. We'll see you soon.
É isso. O cosplay que eu queria fazer. Aí depois eu vou fazer um cosplay de Urei. Pensa, cosplay.
On full frontal.
Oxê. Ih, rapaz. Cortaram errado aí, hein? Deixa os caras descansar. Agora eles tacam anúncio. Esse anúncio não é meu não, hein? O anúncio é deles. Vou até deixar assim pra galera achar que é meu anúncio. Eu vou dizer, eita, quanto tempo de anúncio, não sei o que. Não é meu não, velho.
As inscrições já estão abertas, hein? E só tá faltando você para participar do Energia do Game Petrobras 2.
Pediu, Yara? Hã? Pediu? Demora quanto tempo?
Gamers, welcome back.
Gamers.
Same day, in fact, of excellent predecessor play. We got a little bit of a new member on the desk, a shakeup not only for these teams, but, you know, we try to keep pace. Philly, man. Welcome to the desk, brother. How are we doing today?
BO3, MD3 também.
Ecstatic, dude. This is a rematch of epic proportions. The last time these two teams fought, it was a 2-1 victory for Nightshade EU. Let's see if they can get it done again.
You know, it's kind of interesting, right? When you're Mini-Mins, there's this, I don't want to call it a glass ceiling, but there's definitely something there that keeps you from elevating to the top of the brass, right? The top 1% of the 1%. Right now, it's Nightshade EU, and you've seen, viewers, that they can make them bleed. Now, we're looking to see if they can confirm the kill. In order to be the man, you got to beat the man, Falcon. How do you feel about their chance to do so?
I don't want to give a percentage because I think that's unfair. I think draft is going to be a big importance. If anyone gets a I say they have a lot higher chance. I think it is going to be an uphill battle. Obviously, they have a massive amount of momentum coming off of what was nearly a stomp into the side of Ronin. So they have got themselves warmed up. They got themselves knowing that they can do it. It's just going to also depend on how Nightshade is coming into this game. Are they coming in warm? Are they coming in a bit cold? A bit lackluster.
As vamos a arena também, mano. Rampage. Rampage é uma bomba também.
We talked about a little bit within the last set how potent Mini-Mins can be when they get some of these assassins, high damage, high mobility picks. Immediately they're going to get taken away. Well, they take away a little bit of beef. Nightshade EU going to pick up some pretty solid engage as long as keep it alive.
Wang de first. Nossa, já vai Gadget. Já vai de Gadget já, mano. Já vamos pegar o combo Gadget e Zaros. A Gadget.
On the other side, Import so prolific on the Wukong and the Rampage. You gotta take that out. So it leaves the Kwang, which Import can play, but Bond Druid is no slouch on that hero either. So it's a very flexible pick.
Thinking of things being prolific, we're going to see something that everyone on this desk, everyone at home is probably pretty familiar with. Good old microwave Coliseum into the Tesla Dome. Make sure they take every instance of that damage. But Falcon, we were talking, man, and these two players, these two characters in combination
Base.
seen that much success and
aqui já tem meu preconceito já, velho. Sinto muito.
How you feeling about the team comp, man?
Aqui já vai começar meu preconceito com o FaZe lá. Porra. Oxê. Ei, bicho, ajeita isso aí que só ativa meu toque, velho.
as the first two picks, when you got Howitzer up, you've got Revenant up.
Botaram errado aí, meu parceiro.
Picks that you could have gone for. I'm not.
Obrigado, obrigado.
I just don't think it's worth that high of a priority.
Baniram o
I
Murdoch.
don't know where the Zos is going to be played. It probably is going to be Ren in that jungle role, but obviously
Baniram Terra.
play it as well. With not saying EU
Pô, é.
Terra, they don't believe that is the case either. The phase is something I want to mention as well, because we didn't see a phase at all last game. We saw
E na terra do M também.
more of the range supports, but not the phase. And I think that
Será se o M puxa
there's
esse
gonna be a lot
Grux?
of picks that can range up with this radio. You see that Murdoch's been banned away.
Puxa esse Greystone?
That a lot in scrims, but you have the Grim, you have the Revenant, you have the Scarlet, so there's a lot of nasty dual lanes, like say that you can pull out here.
É. Chimera, ele. Mano, existe um mundo que esse Chimera pode ser off.
Chimera Lock, and I'm going to be honest here with you, Philly. I really like Miniman's first picks here. It feels like a committal to the
Existe um mundo. Pequeno mundo.
survivability as well as space creation in a more limited fashion with the Coliseum. It's going to be on Nightshade EU though, the response. Going to be Revenant coming through.
I mean, this guy is just so strong.
Heaven e Greystone.
The resurgence of Greystone cannot be understated, and I think that's for a couple of reasons. One, Overlord got a buff. It's a very strong item now. Two, his Sacred Oath, so that your build path in terms of your abilities can be a little bit different. You can scale with HP as well if you're doing into that. So I really like the pickup there for probably Bond in the offlane. And then Drongo has another character who's seen a resurgence here, excited for the Wastelander to make his way to Sanctuary.
Dude, I normally don't throw out the bias this early. We give it a little bit of back and forth. First, I really do like Miniman's composition as well as Nightshade EU's, but I think the preamble of stacking CC as hard as it can be at times to do it efficiently, having Steel on your team makes it so much easier, bro. The big orange man pulls up on you, you might as well throw away the keyboard. You're not going to be able to play the game. That being said, Alchemist, I want to play a little bit of a game with you here, putting you on the spot yet again. My closer, my opener, my light, my day. Which one of these two teams are you favoring now that we've got through P's and B's?
I understand what you two have been saying. I understand the importance of CC, but every time I look at this Nightshade EU team, I'm thinking, God, Krang is busted. God, Harrods is busted. God, Revenant's busted. I think that they have 3 lanes that are going to be winning. I think that even with the Krang, I think he can just kind of can do what he wants on this character. Chimera is going to have to play out, eventually have to play out his mind on this Chimera, be so active in the early game to allow his lanes to play, especially that dual lane, that I think it's going to be such a struggle, and I don't think that Benny Vance is going to be able to come out on top of it.
All right, man. We may have a little bit of a duality here. Philly, before we send it off to Sanctuary, man, which one of these teams are you feeling?
I am concerned about the engage here for Nightshade EU, so I'm going with Vennyven's Many Men's. I think that their engage is a simpler way to go about it. It's just a simple dive, right? Coliseum, Shield Slam, Tesla Dome on top, or ambush, whatever it is. You can pick a target, burst them down. I think that's easier for them to execute. I'm going with BBMM.
Fantastic, man. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I have a fear of accountability, so I am not going to be the tiebreaker here. That being said, we're going to be sending it off to TNT Tang. TJ, take it away.
It'll be our pleasure, Ego. Thank you so much. Welcome everyone to the casting desk here for our next matchup to decide who will be facing Indecisive in the grand finals. A rematch, the winner semi-finals. Nightshade EU taking on Ready Benz and Many Men's. I'm TJ Tang alongside me as always. And Tang, we had the pleasure of watching this matchup just a few weeks ago in that winner's semi-finals. That was a 3-game banger. So I think lessons learned here, a bit of momentum. This should be another entertaining game in EU PCC.
I think those players have played against each other countless times. Doesn't matter which team they were on, right? We're thinking back of the history between those teams. We know Bondroid, of course, it was part of the Benny Vance Many Men's just a last PCC in summer. Now it's gonna be him together with some players from Team Immune, some players from Team Sin, facing off against the rest of the Many Men's that are still gonna be here. And as you said, 2-1 was what we saw in that last series 2 weeks ago. Nightshade EU managed to eke out in this one, so they are the 2nd seed coming into this tournament.
It's very important to mention, I think, kind of how that semi-finals went as well. In the 3-game series, that game 1, Tang, was an absolute blowout. I don't think the Many Men's actually turned up to that game, to be honest. I think Nightshade just turned up the heat, control. I think that's kind of the key word for how this Nightshade EU team wants to play. It's all about control of the lanes, control over the game as well. And it took a bit of a fight back in game 2 for the many men's take us into that game 3, but it is definitely another step up. I think the Des mentioned
aquela troca no começo que vai ser só.
Nightshade EU just represents an elevation in the
E os olhos tá batendo.
Yeah, definitely. I think Nightshade EU, a lot of people were expecting them to get this first seed coming into this autumn series of PCC, but they ended up falling too indecisive. So it's going to be Venimans, Manimans, and Nightshade EU fighting to get into this grand final that is going to grant them
Nossa, que é isso?
more of the 12.5k prize pool that we have allocated for this European Predecessor event. Left
Vai morrer. Oxi. Oxi.
Expecting its spear of near execute damage enough to put M on the board.
Oh, that is going to be a first blood drawn by the many men. It is that off-lane matchup, Tang. I know.
Talvez seja um pouco de desvantagem quando você começa o jogo frio enquanto o outro tava jogando, né? Aí o cara dá essas dormidas. Isso aí é dormida do caralho, velho. Porra, Bandru.
How you do it. Solid start for the many men. See where they can go from here. That was in isolation. Solo bolo.
Yep.
A good start.
And it's completely
Isso aí é dormida e desatenção.
Usually we always have imports go for this 3-minute gank towards that right hand side, not necessarily to get a kill, but instead to secure the Scion for himself. With a really good wave state, was just able to take the Scion for himself, pick up that frag, and now he has a slow push into his side of the turret. So he's not going to lose anything for it. Meanwhile, Bond is struggling on that Greystone. We did see in our previous set beforehand that a Greystone that falls behind is not necessarily the most useful hero.
No, I think it was Garali kind of putting the Greystone in between the two towers, I think, in one of those games as well, how it just wasn't a fun time to play in that matchup. 2 levels, I think, between Garali and M in that one. But, of course, going to be on the receiving end of that one, at least. Solid start. And I just say, Tang, changes things up here as well. And now the Des were mentioning, of course, about how the many men wanted to deal with these side lanes. They've drafted so much power, have Nightshade.
Eu não prestei atenção, foi nas perks, velho.
But maybe the dual lane, the next problem to solve.
A Get, ela tá com a chuva, né? Morreu.
Good use of the tether to surge. Just honestly, the play is so clean. Honestly, Secret just doesn't have a way out of this one, even with that unstoppable rush. He falls down, and that's going to be Nightshade EU evening things up 1 for 1, where Import goes left-hand side to try and even things up. Ven stop the recall of Shin behind that shadow curtain as well. Make sure everyone knows where Ven is.
Yeah, at least making sure to stop this recoil. They know Import is on the left-hand side. Now the big question is, which seedling do they want to contest? Chimera, I like this out of Venom. First doing the left one, knows that the right one can't be started up by Import anyways, and knowing that with this mid lane advantage, there should be no reason for Import to even try to contest.
Pegou e vai pro outro. Tá com pressão.
Venom can easily go to the right-hand side and should be able to secure this first 2 seedlings for himself.
Quite a big boon. I mean, the ceilings did take a little bit of a hit in some of the recent patches, but honestly, a single instance of golden XP can't be understated. Then hits the level up of that one as Import was still in his blue side jungle looking try and farm. Bit of an advantage here. Penguin as well. Heavy trading on this dual lane. Having looked though, both junglers still in the vicinity the mid lane for now, but neither side able to find a breakthrough just yet. It's only the action on the side of the maps here, not in the middle just yet.
Yeah, in the middle. We did see Maya just in that previous game get at least 1 solo kill against Kimbo. He's known for being one of the most aggressive mid laners.
Atrapalhar o B?
On a pick like Gadget, of course.
Nossa, não atrapalhou.
Kill pressure as almost managing to stop the recoil there by Bond. Import on that right-hand side. Could have been stopped from basing, right? That would have been really big since the Fangtooth has already spawned on our left-hand side. Chimera is just power farming at the moment, looking to get this level 6 and then potentially look for those objectives.
I feel like with how the state of the game is going, Ven very much has been ticking off the checklist right now. He's even going to go for the gank over towards that left-hand side. Leaping forward, Penguin just immediately uses that blind, forces him away. So got to be careful in the mid lane is Shin. Potentials be pincered, but the many men's not going to go for pick onto the howitzer. Just a quick retreat there. But honestly, Tang, looking back at how this game's gone, honestly, then just kind of picking things off the checklist, honestly. So far, so good for the many men's. If they can maybe get a play here on the left-hand side, Cole lands. Not going to result in a kill just yet.
Yeah, really well played by Penguin, blinking forward, getting Neft with him and not losing anything for it. Venom really wanted to abuse that level 6 advantage. We did see Import still on that level 5 before he did the 5 camp. And yeah, if Chimera gets the pick there, then you can transition that into the Fangtooth, but that is the strength of the phase. You can overplay on the left side, but there has to be giant missteps by Neft and Penguin to actually fall to that. So they just keep it cool, they just keep it calm, and they're able to get this ultimate out of the Chimera, and that stops this play for the Fangtooth on the left-hand side. Instead, we see those recoils being channeled. Now back to that right-hand side. This Fang play was diffused by just the face blink.
One ability, just one button, and just like that, an entire play falls to the wayside. And I like how you mentioned that, Tang, about you just diffusing the situation. The desk highlighted a lot. There's a lot of onus on the many men to just get involved early. They've got a very aggressive draft that wants to get started here. And the NICEDU squad fighting a lot of control of positioning here. I really get the sense, though, that they can't be just diffusing the situation constantly. They are eventually going to need to take the fight to the many men. So what do you think that... how do you think the next few minutes are going to shape up in regards to that?
I mean, as long as they diffuse, I feel like they're kind of outscaling. So honestly, I think if they just keep it even like that, then I don't think they're under threat whatsoever. They like we had Frykon on the desk, right? They have a lot of power picks that just scale really well.
Ele tá indo pro núcleo azul, vai padrãozão.
Of course, as well. So I think they're not too scared of just letting it go late. As long as you're not giving up those objectives early, and 8 minutes in, no Fangtooth.
Mano, esse primeiro Fang aí vai dar uma briga boa.
So far, this is shaping up to be a really long one.
Bit of a slow burn. So, you know, in the losers final, game 1, always on expectations, seems to be a bit of a slower burn. Both teams just trying to probing a little bit, seeing brought a sense of weakness. We've only really seen that on the right-hand side with the solo kill. That feels like an eternity ago now as teams...
Chimera tá de soberano. Foda-se. Tá Fang.
The first real matchup of this win, losers finals.
It's gonna be a 3v3 on the left side. Make it a 4 versus 4 steal. Drongo hard to really walk in. Still has the level 6.
You're not gonna find that boot.
Caralho, foram direto no Heavy. Link do Heavy. Tiraram o Heavy de jogo. Heavy vou ter que resetar. Caralho, o Chimera viu o Heavy e foi nele insta, porque senão ele ia ser ultado.
They're trying to get as much damage onto Secret that is actually able to keep his shield slam through it all. Might have had a chance to connect it onto Neft. Could have sealed the deal there, but that allows them to at least keep on contesting if those Fangtooth or mini prime objectives get started up by NICEDU next. Talking about augments as well. Howitzer has that movement speed augment on this ultimate. We also see the Drongo with that reduced cooldown on that shrapnel cannon. So both teams really focusing on their ultimate abilities there in these team fights.
Big cooldown that they're wanting to look to punish the absence of, I should say, it's all about that repositioning, not just that damage.
Troca de objetivo. Prime. Fang.
Whilst NICEDU are over on the right side, so it looks like we have ourselves a classic EU handshake of the objectives. Fangtooth to be secured by the many men. The NICEDU squad should have the freedom to give this to whoever they want. It looks like it will be given over to Bondred on that right-hand side. Both neutrals finally going to drop at 10 minutes.
Both falling for sure, and it's super late, right? Like this Fangtooth falling at 10 minutes means that there's not gonna be this primal Fangtooth before, at the very earliest, right, the 20-minute mark. So if you want to go late, then this is already a good outcome for yourself. I think NICEDU are very confident in their late game scaling. For many men, we heard it on desk actually. It was Philly making a really good point that this engage out of many men it's just really easy to initiate, right? We're looking at the shield slam out of Secret, one of his most played heroes. Then we have the Chimera, of course, with that ambush augment that gives him that extra range with the Ceres, with the Colosseum, just so many ways for them to engage onto NiGDU. So even though NiGDU has good scaling, if Manymans can find one of those hicks with those engage abilities, then it could still be in their favor, even if it's really late in the game.
And when we look towards those easy engages, I think my mind naturally drifts over towards that dual lane, the support rotations. We haven't really seen that yet. Secret and Sagu have been kind of stuck together. The FaZe, Penguin, and Neft, of course, naturally going to be sticking together. So they've not really been able to get as involved, I think, maybe as the Manymans would like here. Import just going to shuffle Secret out of his blue side jungle, still respecting it at least. But I think that's probably the reason why. But is this an advantage though for the Manymans? Sure.
Ele começou de Melody, mano. Agora que eu vi. Caralho. Ele começou de Melody, bicho. Esse bicho quer bater, hein?
The Hyperflux does not do too much with the Revenants, but honestly, the FaZe just fits in so well, considering all of these engage abilities that our Manymans team has. And we saw Penguin before, right? This early gank with this ambush on the left-hand side, with the Kyle not able to connect with Penguin, just investing that lower cooldown blink, getting Neft away, that the Revenant is allowed to play aggressive, even though he does not have this blink up.
When you have a player like Neft able to play around that cooldown and play around the fact that he has got Penguin look out for him, it's a very, very dangerous play. I mean, how many times have we spoken about Neft out of that ADC role, but also Tang as well, player returning to the side. We didn't actually see him 2 weeks ago. Sagu coming in for the Manymans as well. Definitely a big pickup. I think Septic still did a fantastic job on that ADC role. I'm thinking back to game 2 in the winners semi-finals, absolutely popping off. But Sagu, the main ADC coming back, this should be a real good leap for the side of the Manymans.
Definitely expecting it. Maya mid lane is gonna escape. Good speed skates coming out. People say Gadget does not have any mobility. Maya begs to differ as he escapes the gank, but yeah, definitely getting Sagu back, getting this main ADC back is not only good for sort of like, okay, in terms of individual skill, but also in terms of team play, right? They are just more confident playing together, just much more practice. Yeah, so I think for Manymans, they are definitely feeling confident walking into the set today.
That's really what they need right now. They have at least guaranteed the prize money, but as you say, we're $12,500 on the line here. You definitely want a bigger portion on a match against Indecisive. Is really both these teams want to do. Of course, Nightshade want that revenge on the team that put them down to this match 2 weeks ago, and the Manymans, Des was highlighted, Ego so eloquently put it as well, as that the Manymans team want to break the top 2, and the result against either of these teams would definitely do that for now. But right now in game 1 with 14 minutes here, only 1 kill apiece, solo kill on the right hand side.
Já reseta, que vai ter fake, mano. Já reseta.
Import and Shin, just such a lethal duo as well for NiGDU. Have been playing together for such a long time.
Caralho, o Grayson tá batendo, hein, velho.
Has the Colosseum, but the Stoneforge Soul should do the trick as well. Just gonna use that flower, try to get to safety, but in the end, it's this blink and ultimate invested for the Ceres.
It's got to be an advantage as well over on that solo side. I think we're getting to the point here where Bondrewd has gotten over that solo kill. At this point here, he doesn't have the ultimate here, doesn't have the mana, but honestly, he's whacking away.
Eita! Devolveu a solada, velho. Tem que fazer o fake rápido, porque ele vai rotar, velho. Se demorar, o Greystone vai chegar. Termina o fake, pô. Deixa o Heavy ultar, foda-se. Roubou. Heavy ultou. É. Essa call de Fang sem ir rápido no Heavy ali é rajada.
Even with the fastest smite in the West, is not even gonna have competition at smiting it. Even though I gotta say that was an impressive smite. I think it was 994. Import immediately smites it, secures it for NiGDU. Shin is Gonna get body blocked quite a bit by M. Does not have the blink, does not have the Colosseum. Tries to get more damage on him though.
Should be the spear. Epoch coming out. Just waiting for it, and there it is. Easy to like. M will get the kill.
Mano, esse cara estacando Melody, vai.
Penguin goes for a pinch maneuver, and M and Secret still around. Should be enough to dissuade us once he gets a stun. Import just backs away, but really the fight of the objective was the main play. The reset, get back to base. But the many men still grouping up here. Potential look on towards Neft and Penguin, but they just run to the hills, and the many men's destroy this game just can't seem to catch onto any one of the Nightshade EU squad.
No, and that is the strength of picking something like a phase, just making sure that everybody can escape for free. They were able to leverage a lot of their playmaking on the right-hand side. Bond picking up the second mini prime as we see Maya and Van start to pick up this tier 1 in the mid lane. Bond not having any hard CC is going after them, but I don't think he can catch them.
Moving in towards that red side, rocking the slows, moving forward. Ven, a simple invigorates, gets him back though. Definitely feel a bit more invigorated after he resets completely here. But that lane, the mid lane, Shaper angle opened up. The Nightshade EU squad definitely want a bit of a change of scenery, a bit of a change of the decor, maybe a few more meteorites sprinkled around the map, and a few more pathways to open up here. Shaper, a little bit longer than that, maybe. Can't really time it myself.
É baratão free aí.
Venom is close by though.
Roubou, o Chimera roubou. Caralho, ziquei. Ziquei, mano. Chimera desceu no Winstone e roubou. Caralho, toma essa zicada ao vivo. Caralho, ziquei, mano. Chimera entrou e roubou, velho. Mas o Neft tá 3-0.
Just jumps in to get the pick onto Import as well. Traded out by the steal after the fights, but getting the Shaper in the pockets is just really, really important just for this mental gain, right? We're thinking, okay, is that actually gonna put them back into the game?
É, o Chimera ferra boa, mano.
But that is sort of the proof of concept that many events, that they are not done with this game yet whatsoever.
The momentum, Tang. Make a great point. I mean, we've seen the clips from Nightshade EU when under Sin. Import, very vocal on the comms. I think we've all seen those clips from the Gazoo LAN here. But as you said, Tang, you've probably been in the VC when that has happened, a big power play like that, and look to change some fortunes for a team. But it's not quite back into the game just yet. Although, showing that the many men still have some fight, a bit of moxie around them here. So looking to try and wrest back control here.
E o Greystone tá pegando portal? Greystone pegou portal.
Using that port, so we also see the rotation in by Import and Shin.
For that Tether Sagu with that ultimate. Reduced cooldown, able to get into some safety here with the long range coming in from the R2000. Shin with the make it rain, with the movement speed, runs down Sagu, no escape, and Ben will swiftly follow just when the many men's thought they got a little momentum back. Nightshade EU clamp down, find two and move straight.
Excelente portal e excelente call de dive aí com levar a torre, com matar.
Many events to scramble away, running away from a tier 1 that was just barely alive and still falling. Both Venom and Sagu there falling in that fight, and Bond able to show up when his team needed him, because it was looking a bit dicey after losing the Shaper beforehand, and Bond was able to secure the first 2 mini primes for himself, and now he was able to leverage that advantage on the off lane towards the rest of his team, making sure that they're not only able to pick up this tier 1 on the left side, but also the Fang Tooth and also the structure.
M wasn't even able to get the structure to at least answer back as well, so Bondry's feeling pretty damn good about that rotation, all things considered.
Caralho, o Greystone não perde vida não.
How confident he is. The box in ticks over another level as all members start to move over here. ADCs are on the left hand side, all prime warded up. The the next battleground. Shaper will be on the left-hand side of the map here, so this could still be a very crucial objective for both these teams to fight over. Honestly, I'm just loving Bondred and M just absolutely going at it at this point.
And I think for M, it's going to get worse and worse. I'm looking at him picking up that melody, helps him with clear, but honestly, in the 1v1 against the Greystone, that is not an item you really want to build on the Xerath, because Bond with that Overlord is just going to keep on hacking, right? You can see it right there, having to disengage Secret close by. Venom as well, Penguin on the rotation.
Yeah, look at the minimap though, the entire rest of the Night Shade EU squad are over here. Then bring in Penguin with him. Shin jumps over the top. R2000 hits Secret square in the face. At least takes a damage onto one of the squishier members. No one able to get picked off just yet, but priority given over to the Nightshade squad as the ADCs are on the left-hand side. Nightshade decides to do with it here.
I think the Greystone is going to be the biggest problem for Venivans. The Xerath is really strong against some of the enemy heroes. I think he is pretty decent against the Revan and against this Quang to an extent as well, but this Howitzer, probably one of his worst matchups just in general. Like, Howitzer can just displace himself easily, can escape from the cage as well, using that ultimate as well, and also using that augment that grants him that extra movement speed. So I think for M, it's going to be the team fighting. It's going to be catching Neft potentially. But Greystone is completely unleashed on the side lane. Nobody can really catch him, so he's always gonna have first.
Se esse Drongo vacilar, o Greystone vai pular nele aí.
Play in front of the enemy tier 2 because nobody can respond to him.
I feel like this is what Nightshade EU have done so well, as they're constantly feeling like the many men's are on a timer. As you said, Tang, right at the start, the late game looks pretty good. They're more than happy just kind of diffuse a lot of situations, play a little bit later on. The later objective spawns coming into their play as well, with 23-minute mark here. For a team like the Many Men's, the composition, the easy engage, they're the ones
Level 17.
fights in a blink of an eye, but Nightshade EU, at this point now, I don't even think the Many Men really want to fight unless a massive advantage. They might have to give up quite a bit though. As you say, you know, if Bondred is allowed to split push, maybe look for the 5 versus 4, but they'll have to sacrifice something here.
And it's so hard for them to actually play back because, like the Chimera, for example, in the jungle, he just can't get anything for himself if they keep on letting Bond.
Greystone tá doido pra pegar esse Drongo, velho.
If he does actually get engaged on in the jungle, he has no.
Ah, o Drongo não sai da torre.
Being a Chimera with only having engage abilities and no safety whatsoever in the kit, so we can see many men's playing further and further back. Getting put super far behind, not only in terms of gold, but also looking at the level differences.
I think we've reached a point now where Nightshade EU control. They play as a unit. They had the strong silos, but now it's all coming together. And you can see that in the gold lead. I mean, you talked about the levels. We have got the level lead in the solo lane. Jungle is even a lead in the mid lane, a lead in the duo lane as well. And they're not actually doing anything flashy either. It's just constricting the map, moving around, and just look at the response. Well, dare I say, lack thereof from the Many Men. They just can't seem to do anything.
They're just getting punished wherever they go. Bond also going on to this Chimera once more. He is alone, but he is a Greystone.
Just see the damage.
Mano, o Greystone tá muito forte, mano. Porra é essa, velho? Ele mal perde vida com os tiros do Drongo ali. Ele tá level 17, quase 18. Não, ele tá level 18 agora.
There's a lot of there's a lot of pressure on both of these teams, right? We are the game before the grand finals. This one decides who is gonna get at the very worst second place. Both teams have won against each other before. We did mention that this is a repeat of what we had 2 weeks ago, where Many Men's ended up losing 1-2 to Nightshade EU that were looking so hot 2 weeks ago. And honestly, so far they've been looking better and better, getting those advantages pretty much everywhere, playing so stellarly around those objectives. They're trying to do it once more. Primal Fangtooth started up, just being dewarded for now.
Really don't need to overplay their hand, because that would just invite another Ven steal. You you could honestly just see the writing on the wall there. The start of that Primal Fangtooth, decide to go for it, and then Ven just once again jumps over the top with the Blast Flower. Another steal. Twitch that goes absolutely mental. Kind of can see exactly how that would play out here. Just say Tang, just vision control.
É, mano, ninguém tá batendo de frente com esse Greystone, não, mano.
They've already got late game sorted. It's really on the many men to try and look for something. This opportunity is just becoming less and less. Not actually you just through sheer weight and numbers and positioning and control of the vision have allowed them to start up this primal.
Eles começaram de novo, eles querem beitar pra brigar. Beitar pra brigar o caralho, eles vão continuar. Mano, olha o Greystone, olha o Greystone. Olha o Greystone. Ah. Ele foi pelo lado da Get do Steel. Cara, fala o modador, baratão. Só fazer esse baratão aí.
I mean, Bond feels like Thanos at the moment, just walking through the map, nobody can really contest him, and does whatever he wants. Granted, he's also not really able to find those picks either, as the Greystone doesn't really have any lockdown. We could see him pummel Venom beforehand, but even if you're winning those trades, Chimera can still run away since you don't have any reliable lockdown for yourselves. But we can see it once more, right? This 2-cap Venom just getting engaged on over and over again, and IGDU, they use this opportunity to go for this Fangtooth.
And again, it's on their terms. You can see the rest of the many men start to move towards the Primal Fangtooth, drop down to half. Import staying with it for now, keeping the aggro going. We really get the sense that they want to move away, probably try and look to bait a fight. Eyes on Ben, right of your scenes, moving forward. Import's going to go in. He does at least secure the Primal Fangtooth, but loses his life. It's a big collapse. The many men will at least take down a jungler, but at the cost of Sagu. He's lost his life in the melee. Bondrude, Penguin, and Neff.
Deve estar free batendo, velho. E o Greystone tá só sentando o dedo. A Big Wave lá na off.
Good idea there by Secret, trying to lock Import down before he gets the smite off, but they were just too late. Rifty is forward, uses the shield slam, and that gave enough time to Import, to the fastest smite in the West, as you said, to secure this Fangtooth for themselves. Maya, the only one left as the rest of NIGHTU comes knocking on the door, has to blink away, not even gonna be enough.
GG.
NIGHTU are just one more inhibitor away from ending the game.
The ace comes through on Bondrude, finally gets the pick that he's been looking for all game when he rotates into these team fights. Still got 5 seconds on Saga.
GG, man.
Once again showing what happens when a team
Deve ter saiu 6-0.
are able to dominate the entire match state from start to finish. What a great game 1 performance coming in from NIGHTU's squad.
Super impressive. They were able to stop many mans in anything they wanted to do. They drafted a really aggressive comp for themselves, but NIGHTU, they just completely ignored them. They're like, okay, you guys need to do this. We are just gonna use that phase, get away. We're not gonna engage in any of those shenanigans. And then many mans, they realized, okay, now it's already too late. Now we're trying to go for those objectives. And then NIGHTU, they strike, and they're able to come out ahead.
Always thought the many men's were on a timer. It turns out, though, that of course NIGHTU were the ones in control of it the entire time. What a performance from them. Not the first time we've been in this situation, though, Tang. NIGHTU looking good in game 1. Still got game 2 coming up. Before that, though, it's time to go back to the desk for the post-game breakdown.
Thank you so much, TJ. Thank you as well, Tang. Phenomenal game here. Classic in a way, coming out of this prominent EU team. Nightshade, they just maintained control until they decided to end it. One big fight was all it took. Billy, what did you see out of these teams in game 1, man?
I mean, this is a classic EU match, right? It's just that slow, methodical chokehold of resources until you get to critical mass. Then you take that one fight where the death timers are so long, you win it outright because you have the advantage from start to finish, and then you roll it in. I mean, I think it was just a masterclass in those little micro steps. But Import, great ganks on the side of the Kwang. then had a good steal on the Shaper we see in this highlight here, but then on the Kai, didn't do much else.
Yeah, man, we
Bora,
did
Feng.
see a couple highlight plays, right? No pun intended for what we're
Tem
seeing.
monstro dos caras, a gente faz
It feels
de
like
boa.
for a
Tá
long
todo mundo,
period,
agora é tudo ou
something
nada,
very
entendeu? Se
dangerous
der merda,
happened.
deu.
He stagnated. He wasn't able to contribute across the board as much as you would
Bom
like to see
sábado,
him to.
caveirão.
Not for a lack of
Salve, salve,
trying, but
Zétesis.
this
Valeu, meu
night
irmão, pra
shift
você
was
também. Aí
so
fudeu,
long
guys.
out. That being
Tenha uma
said,
boa
mini
jogatina.
mins
Tomei o
did have some
bagulho
really
inteiro aqui.
solid plays that gave them a little bit of win, but at the end of the day, the lead just came to be too much. Falcon, you see anything that mini mins should be capitalizing
Ai,
on,
vou
and
morrer.
making sure they do in this game
Eu vazei, eu vazei.
help you to get to a game 3.
Ela me mata.
Surprised they didn't give more fire.
Vai, 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 ajuda, Renan, ajuda.
I could have seen that Ben could have just gone over to that side, made sure that Bondry couldn't get back into the game, get those mini primes, because I think Bondry got both mini primes in that game. Let's give up on the early fangs. You obviously
morri.
you got a decent lane in that dual side, but you're just never going to get ahead of a phase revenant when they can just play safe whenever you are near them. So I think that's something that many men should definitely look at, especially if they can get M on a more carry type of player. Apart from that though, I mean, I say that just played really good predecessors, so there's not much you can really do to punish. Instead, maybe just look at yourself and see what can you do to create this gap instead.
There's a UFC fighter, I think, who said this. I'm going to take you into deep waters, and I'm going to let you discover who you are.
Vai tá todo mundo aqui vivo.
We're seeing a
Vai.
situation where mini mins, they're either going to sink or they're going to swim. Game
Melhor
3,
deixar eles startar
possibly
isso
on the
aí,
horizon,
mano.
but first,
Eles estão na
we're gonna have
vantagem
to see
ainda.
if mini mins has what it takes to take over in game 2. Ladies and gentlemen, don't go anywhere. We're gonna be right back here with you with Nightshade versus
Se
Vinny.
o jungle deles vinha, o Revenant tirava ele e vocês matavam, tá ligado? Ué, a gente pode tentar. Peguei. Blink dela, blink a mão, blink dela. Chegando aí no mid, geral no mid, viu? Compra essa briga. Compra. Não acredito!
Sobrevive ainda.
Mentira, mano. Aí é GG. Vocês vão pro Prime Fang? Ah não, vai dar ruim.
Vem cá, você tá querendo começar a criar conteúdo? Tá faltando aquele impulso pra dar o primeiro passo, né? Então seu problema tá resolvido porque acaba de chegar a energia do game dessa night antes. Vai ser sua chance de aprender a fugir.
Rena defende, hein?
Pela Battle Guys e ainda pode brincar no salto do Brasil.
Defende não.
Defendo nada, filho.
Você pra participar da energia do game.
Valeu. Não adianta, o Overlord não fica bom nele, né? Já tentei, a segunda vez que eu tento, não faço mais. Embora, né? Fazer o quê? O ADC ficou muito fedado, mano. Nossa senhora, tava 15-0 lá, cê é louco. Onde que ele ficou? Não, 13-5. Mesmo assim, né? 10 assistências. Maior assistência do jogo. Segunda. Meu irmão. Só time fechado os caras, mano. Não adianta.
É, velho. Filazinha no SA tá como? Daquele jeito. Aquele jeito logo cedo. Aquele jeito logo cedo. Ah, meu Deus do céu. Que preguiça boa.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We got game 2, backs against the wall here for Vinny Men's Mini Men. If they want to shine, they're going to have to withstand the pressure and come out as diamonds on the other side. Philly, how you feeling about their odds coming into this game 2?
I'm feeling pretty strong. I mean, this is a extremely good squad. They have been in this position many times before. I'm looking at their captain Ven to be on a different jungler. I just don't think Chimera. We were talking about it during that previous match, guys, in the green room. I'm just not a big fan of Chimera here in the comp scene, so I'd like the captain to be on something else this time.
And it looks like definitively the captain's not going to be able to get on this Wukong or Rampage pick going to either side. That being said, Falcon, B's and beats with the last game. We came and we kind of discovered that, hey, Vinny Men's can kind of match.
Banimento em Face, o Kong, Rampage e Kwang. Ou seja, Peng mal passou. Yurei passou. O M deve pegar esse Feng mal aí.
That's hard to say. We already see that 3 jungle bans have come through, so there is a less amount in that pool. Obviously, you got the Zara, so you got Greystone can play it. We haven't seen Grux. Grux is not a great jungler, but that is possible as well. Richter, I mean, this is a jungler, but it's also support. It's also an offlaner. There's a lot of flex to this pick. I hope it's not support. I don't think it's going to be great in this one, especially if Penguin picks likes of a Decker up. So this might be their pick instead of the Chimera.
I'm going to be honest, man. I was not familiar with your game. Mini Men's Richter off the top. An excellent flex, as you did say, Falcon, right? This can fall into multiple positions. You're not going to give the other side
we have
information. In response, though, we see a big hitbox and even bigger damage. Revenant, Howie, Philly get locked in.
Yeah, big pumpers here for sure. I'm very curious though, because they banned the phase, if they don't go back to because that phase basically nullified the entire dive composition that Ven's had. Okay, this is maybe a different look here with the Argus, who we've seen had a bigger resurgence because the increase to the damage from his passive, the Disintegrate. So you'll see him in the mid lane. But I mean, Nightshade EU getting the Howitzer and the Revenant, we saw just how much damage those two were pumping in the first game. They're going to do the same. And Greystone, I'm seeing deja vu here. You go.
Yeah,
E Sparrow e Argus. Greystone.
If things do change, they have a game that they can play with. But I don't think they're looking to see this get pushed into a game 3. They're comfortable on these picks, and not only comfortable, but they are deadly. They are lethal on these picks. Greystone going to be pretty solid at being able to create some space as the bans continue to come through. Hera, Steel going to be taken out here.
I just want to talk about the Sparrow pick because, I mean, this Sparrow, I feel like it's very out of the way. I mean, there's plenty of picks. I think Drongo was fine last game. It didn't really get too much, but I don't think that was due to the fact that the Drongo was there. I think the Sparrow is going to have a lot of issues in this game to just be peeled off of. Obviously, you got the Argus, you got the Richter, but that's really going to be throwing CC out towards the enemy, not trying to peel yourself away. So I think that this is a very volatile pick. I think it's a very high risk pick. I think it's something that I wouldn't expect in the first 3. So I think it is a misstep, but I mean, I'm looking at these next 3 picks, Ego, Hasty,
Calari.
and I think you guys got some questions.
Mano, olha isso. Calari, Crunch, Sparrow e Argus. 4 personagens que a gente mal vê. É.
I'll be honest, not completely out of the park. I just didn't quite see it coming, and I'm wearing glasses, so that's not a first for me. But the crunch, the Kalari, completely unforeseen. As the Zinx is actually going to round out this composition for Nightshade EU Philly. Take a look about these teams, man. Which one are you favoring after P's and B's are over?
I'm liking Nightshade EU again. I've been watching a lot of games with Penguin on this Zinx, and he is just so good. And it's like a kind of a budget decker as well, especially if you now know that the Richter is going into the support role. As soon as he lays out a hook, you toss in the ricochet, you get your bad medicine in, then you get the root, the 4th shot. It's just so much damage in this lane. These guys are just going to be blaster shot after blaster shot. And I like the tempo that they're going to be setting with this Chimera in the jungle. But you know how much I don't like Chimera, so we'll see if they can ramp him effectively to then close out the game, or if he's going to fall off, as they get to the later stages of the match.
Yeah, man, and it does kind of also come down to the fact, right, of you having to be efficient in how you're able to escalate him into that mid game, so you can avoid that fall off. It's not a secret to anybody, not to the sports, that these characters, or this character in particular, Chimera, likes to play with the lead. Same can also be said for Rev. That, of course, we saw within the last set how pertinent he can be when he does get a little bit of an advantage. But as you said, the tempo, Philly, feels like it's going to be a lot quicker here coming out of Nightshade EU. That being said, though, Falcon Man, you're my closer. I know I can put you on the harder assignments. Break down this mini men's composition.
É. O jogo promete.
That's the simple thing, but I will go into a bit more than that. So I've already put my things on Sparrow. I don't think there's really enough peel for this Sparrow to play. I think that it has a good amount of downs. I think it can use that.
Salve, Mauro. E aí, velho? Como é que você tá?
But into a Chimera, into a Greystone, even into a Herald to make it rain, I just don't think there's a much chance for the Sparrow to play in this game. I think they've got good engage with the Argus and the Victor with the stun into the hook, but that is going to be secret on that support. So into a Rev Zinx, it's going to not have a very fun time. The main thing is the Crunch and the Kalari. So, Crunch, if you guys would watch in the EU play-ins, we had a lot of Crunch in those series. It lost nearly every single time, apart from basically on Morose. So, Bondrude, we saw him plenty of times, didn't really ever win lane on this character, especially now that you get into a Greystone, which is going to be able to bully you 3-6 as well. I think
Os cinzas são bans. Os 3 de cima de cada lado é ban.
I think it's going to be a great time for Bondrude, and then the Kalari. Kalari needs to get ahead, but you're basically counterpicking.
Opa! Caralho, 9 meses, Mauro. Já tá
Mauro
pra nascer,
pinzada
mano.
para Cachupecita. Obrigado pela força, parceiro. Joguei ontem Sudoeste Caio gente lixo no meu time.
Caralho. Caralho, já dá pra nascer, ô Mauro. 9 meses, obrigado aí pela força. Joguei ontem só Caio com gente lixo no meu time. Tinha um Chimera fazendo item da DC. É, aí é foda. Cara, eu tenho uma... Mano, eu já vi tanto absurdo, Mauro, que eu não tenho mais o que dizer. Assim, são poucos os absurdos que eu me surpreendo. Já vi tanta coisa, mano, esses dias. Esses dias eu joguei menos no SA. Joguei mais hackeada. Mas os poucos que eu joguei, assim, os poucos jogos que eu joguei foram de sangrar os olhos. O Band fez e terra, não sei, mano. Mano, eles têm uma véi. Os bans, eles têm uma estratégia deles aí, velho. Eles baniram o Kong, fez e Steel. Steel ia atrapalhar um pouco a comp deles como suporte. Steel eu entendo o Kong também. O Narashi. Você sabe que se eu for olhar o perfil da maioria das pessoas que fazem isso, os caras não é iniciante. Você sabe disso. Não tô falando se o cara é iniciante. Narashi tá se fazendo de anão pra mamar em pé, velho. Porque não é possível. Você sabe que os iniciantes a gente passa o pano. Se o cara for iniciante e estiver testando, ok, mano. Mas, velho, quando eu vou olhar, o cara tem muitas partidas, mano. O cara tem mais de 100 partidas, 200, 300, 400, 500.
I'm just gonna try to explain it in terms that I think everybody can understand. Left hand side, Secret taking a bit of damage. Shouldn't be a kill, but what I'm seeing this draft is, it's like a car driving towards a drawbridge that is halfway up already, and it's like, okay, either this could be the greatest thing ever.
Você tem mais de 100 partidas, não se preocupou ainda em olhar a divisão de ADC e assassino, das coisas tipo assim, mano, tem várias divisões. Você não se preocupou com isso ainda, velho? Toma essa metralhadora. É porque depende do grau comparativo, né? 100 partidas já tá engateando e começando a andar já. Deixou de ser iniciante. O cara ainda é novo no game? Pode ser, mas iniciante não é não, mano. O cara já tem que saber umas coisinhas. 100 partidas é muita coisa, Norash. 100 partidas é muita coisa, mano. Depende do grau comparativo. Você comparar com 500 mil partidas? Mas 100 partidas já é muita coisa, mano. Você parar pra olhar. Você jogar 100 jogos, mano. Não, tudo bem, tem quem não joga, mas, pô, mano, 100 partidas é muita coisa, mano. Você, algumas coisas você tem que pegar, né? Tudo bem, o cara é novato e tal, não é obrigado não, mas, pô, 100 partidas você tem que pegar pelo menos, pô, mano. Tem a divisão de ADC, de mago e tal. Será que a itemização de Chimera é assim mesmo, mano? De ADC, vai testando e tal. 100 partida. Você já tem que saber andar pelo mapa, em quê? Saber onde tá os campos, saber onde vai pra onde. Pô, mano, isso aí é o mínimo do mínimo do mínimo. Você jogando MOBA antes ou não, com 100 partidas, já dá pra você ter experimentado muita coisa, assim. Assistir uns vídeos, dar uma olhada nas lives.
Control. I still get the sense that they're very happy with what they got, right? It's the same kind of core as well of this team. But like adding in Zinx and taking the Chimera for themselves here.
Yeah. I think that the Zinx sort of does the same as the phase in that last game, has that stun augment as well on a primary ability, the Ricochet, so is able to stun more people for longer, so kind of does the same, trying to make sure that Neft is safe. Meanwhile,
vamos essa metralhadora aí.
If it wasn't for this Kalari pick, Shin in the mid lane, losing the trade against Maya there for a bit, it's just gonna take a bit more damage. Imports close.
Caralho.
Is gonna allow Shin to escape scot-free.
Fuzilado.
Yeah, I sort of just gotta repeat what you said, right? I think NightShade are pretty happy with the draft they have for themselves. Compared to the first game, though, I feel like many events, they have kind of the better scaling if we look at the late game.
I mean, there is just going to be this point here where Segue on the Sparrow is going to one-shot whoever tries to challenge the Sparrow. We're going to hit that point. I mean, Argus looking pretty good. The Kalari as well, if it's able to get ahead. I mean, how many times have we said, though, when we've watched Ven play Kalari, it's like, oh, if this Kalari can get ahead. 9 times out of 10, he ends up, 7-0 and 1 by about the 10-minute mark, at least here. So he's definitely a player that can do it here, at least. But
é, mas é o que tem.
Against just how well they're looking as well for the many men, they're really, they have to really step it up in this game to try and.
Cara, a galera tryhard vai estar na normal game, a galera que faz PT. A galera não tem o que fazer, só tem normal game, pô. Tem poucos jogadores, eles não vão lançar ranqueada.
Everybody was playing like clockwork, everybody so in sync, nobody overstepping, nobody a weak link that can be abused, and that might spell trouble for Venom, because as the Kalari, of course, as you mentioned, you want to find those picks, and you want to find them early.
Really, you need to start finding them now. Import on the ceiling, towards right hand side. Could have Ven and Maya on the way over there.
Opa.
Let's try and pincer. Once again, eyes towards his house. So Make It Rain is available and will be utilized in
Opa.
forward. Blink coming out from Maya. Get away from the call, but Import still level 5, so Wood did not have the call available, and Ven just goes for a bit of star points, able to jump back down, for some problems. But Seedling, though, was secured for Night ADU.
Getting the Seedling, then trading this ultimate for the Blink, definitely a trade up. Bond also winning that 1v1 on that right hand side.
Essas câmeras passando assim. Nossa, tem hora que dá uma. Ele passa por dentro das paredes, dá uma gastura, bicho.
Penguin, of course, having this double range dual lane, are just gonna be able to keep on punishing the Richter and the Sparrow, at least so far. Still have a 6-point comes around.
6 minutos, nenhum abate.
And Sagu are gonna have an opportunity to always look for the one shot onto Penguin. Can of course revive Neft, but if he gets stun locked himself, if he gets pulled forward, then that might be a bit of a problem. But so far, I'm seeing a lot of similarities to the first game.
Well, we're 6.5 minutes in. Neither of these objectives have really had much of a look in. Of course, Mini Prime hasn't really had much of a choice, not spawning for another 20 seconds at least. But we're not seeing the ultra aggression that maybe we look toward when we see a Chimera or we do see a Kalari. It's still 0-0. Bondru hasn't been solo killed on the right hand side. Import's not ganked left side.
Mano, vocês fazem esse fake rapidinho, velho.
At this point here, although Ben has been trying to help on the mid lane. Rotating over on that right hand side. Let's just try and catch someone off guard here.
I like this.
Make a play on this right hand side, or maybe distraction. Venno has got the Fangtooth for himself.
They know it for sure though. Bond is gonna rotate over to the Mini Prime in a second. Had the lane prior after Bond was getting vision onto Import, so they knew the Fangtooth was free. The Night ADU just easily inferred from that as well that they are on the Fangtooth. They're just gonna trade it for the Mini Prime.
Prédio atualizou. Tô por fora, mano. Não abriu o prédio não. Opa, opa. Ah, pera aí que eu vou pegar a comida.
I could really see that M did not want Bond to pick up this Mini Prime once more. We did see M win the early game and then just got completely sort of saved by getting those 2 Mini Primes and making M's life miserable in this last game. So really important pick, not only making sure that the Mini Prime is not on the offlane, but also making sure to get this pick onto Bondroot, make sure that Kalari can actually get some gold early on.
I think M possibly saw the result in a Twitch chat and was like, what do you mean 15 votes for MVP? I was cooking that entire game. Actually, maybe the Mini Prime should be able to get MVP at least here.
True.
With that take, though, of course, Import forced to hunt it away, couldn't give it over to Bondroot. So, kind of works into their favor, at least. They didn't lose the Mini Prime buff. It still remains on Import, still able to use that 15% damage buff to himself, but you definitely wanted it more on Bondroot.
Maya also having to run away, does not have this blink up, and Import is going to start to run after him. Shin just helping out, one more connect is going to seal the deal. Shin picks it up with that make it rain, and Maya finally falls in the mid lane.
Well, Exhibit A, Your Honor, to be honest here. I mean, Import's like, yo, I've got more damage. Punish the blinkless Argus, get the kill, get it over on towards the mid lane as well. Try and get Shin heads in that mid lane, especially when we look towards second ceiling spawning on that left hand side. Also with the Mini Prime buff up minions, honestly. Import hunting this, he's honestly making the best of it, to be honest here. Able to take some platings from the mid lane tier 1 tower.
And we were also joking about Bond beforehand, but even though he did not get the Mini Prime, even though he did fall before, he was able to secure 2 platings on the right side. So we can see 4 platings so far secured by Bennyman's. They want to get a pick on that left-hand side. Penguin investing the blink, getting away, does still have that ultimate up.
Ah, é verdade, Narash. Teve a TT ontem, mano. Ontem teve. Ah, tu não jogou ontem, não? Comer aqui que chegou a comida, velho. Dividiu o quê? Ah, só veio um. Olha aí. Ó, divide.
I was just looking at M and Bond. It looks like the crunch is beating the Grace in the 1 versus 1, but danger, of course, always is that the crunch is pretty easily gankable, especially if you use that forward crunch to actually go for those extended trades. The Chimera runs around, and that is going to be a problem. But has sort of done the most he can on that right-hand side, able to keep Bondrewd in check.
Ontem eu tava com febre. Tu também tá ficando doente, velho? Eu ainda não melhorei 100%, velho. Melhora ou piora? Melhora ou piora? Melhora ou piora? Eu não tô 100% ainda não, velho. O jogo tá travando no PC? Mano, não sei. Não joguei hoje ainda. Mas como teve ATT ontem, tava tendo um bug, que é quando você sai da base, do jump pad, você pega o jump, aí ele meio que não pega o jump, ele te joga pra cima e trava. Aí quando vê, tu aparece lá na frente. Ele tava com esse bug ontem. Não sei se ainda tá, mas a minha travada era essa.
It for Penguin down that left side, but they don't want to invest those cooldowns yet. Fangtooth has now spawned. Did not find a pick before it actually came up. Both dual lanes have been pretty even with Neft and Penguin getting every gold buff so far, though. Even though no kill has happened, they have the gold lead. Import now wrapping around behind them. Import Venom also close by. 3 versus 3 on the left side.
Eu fui um dia, o meu tá até agora.
Recall being cancelled did give a little bit of an opportunity. That's why you did see Import move into the blue side jungle. No, he had the numbers advantage. Not really advantage in the mid lane. Maya has first move over here towards the left hand side. Import going to start it off. Riplash going to connect him. Immediately cleansed out by Nef though. Has Import started the Fangtooth for themselves. 4 versus 4 brewing. Secret now with the Impale on towards 2. Then jumps. Import going to try and get hit the pull on towards Secret. Going to look to blink away, but Nef will still take.
Caralho, a vida deles, mano.
As now Maya hits 2 with that Dreadnova. That Eve Crystal does so much work. Neurogenesis comes down on towards Import. Looking to try and time it out, but Penguin's already lost.
Nossa, morreu.
Blinks away, but still be dropping down, but it's a fight.
Só que a Sparrow tá livre matando. Nossa, não morreu. Nossa, deu bom. Triple kill da Sparrow. O Kong sim. A maioria que tem é ban no Kong. O jogo tá travando no PS5 pra todo mundo. Então foi a ATT de ontem. Vou ter que lançar outra ATT.
Gonna send him back to spawn, first class post. He's a bit quicker than the recall at this point, although he's got 26 seconds to think that one over, but the many men's coming over. Secret.
Mano, aí, Ico Rico. O Xbox também tava estranho. Seja bem-vindo aí, ó. Ico Rico. É, então foi da ATT de ótimo, mano. Eu não testei o prédio hoje ainda. Vão ter que lançar outra ATT pra ajeitar. Bom dia, velho. Bom dia.
Bit of danger as the mid-range comes down, Secret able to at least get behind the terrain just to take another cluster of rockets. Keep himself alive there. A far advantage should just be a reset here though. But with the objectives all taken down, day for spawning at 15 minutes on the left-hand side as well. So Nightshade EU already able to this small advantage.
Ai, velho. Deveria ser uma perk dele, né, velho? Uma perk. Chimera pulando nos aliados pra fugir. Vai jogar hoje? Não sei, mas talvez só mais tarde. Eu vou ter que dar uma saidinha. Aí talvez mais tarde. Aí talvez eu dê um intervalo aqui na live. Aí volto mais tarde, entendeu?
Immediately backing away. Call is to stop the shape. Bondred was here. M was on the way down. Import eventually rejoined.
Agora eu não consigo jogar, não.
I'm gonna find the mark on towards Bondred. Import's
Ei!
secured by Import. The skewer.
Que ult é essa?
Will bite the dust.
Do Riquitão.
World shaping. Cataclysm will come into effect and ceilings drop down. No steel coming in from Ven this time.
Caralho, sério? Parece que algumas passivas não estão funcionando. Caralho, então tá com... Parece tudo de Richter. Não, quer isso aí, quer isso aí. Oxê. Mano, se estiver bugado desse jeito mesmo, a gente tem que olhar logo, porque campeonato, né?
As this game approaches another phase. Say with 4 kills to 5, now we reach point here, of course, with Shaper. Objectives, it just feels like it's just going to come thick and fast at this point here. All prime in 3 minutes, man. We're going to get another Fangtooth. And with that objective trade right at the start of the game, many men's feeling pretty good about this one. 2 Fangtooths and a team fight win. Sagu, the man on our screens, 3-0. His triple kill, basically putting the many men's onto 3 Fangtooth points. A big potential for them to look to get a bit more control of this game. This could be a very crucial few moments coming up, Tang, that could decide game 2.
Do believe Yosa has the invisibility, so he could actually be able to outplay quite a bit. It's also impossible for the Revenants to target him if he just goes into invisibility. Therefore, a second left-hand side once more. M jumping away, blinking away.
Caralho, o M.
Into the waiting arms of Shin, and they might
O M tá conseguindo fazer nada, velho.
to make it to the Fangtooth spawn.
Toda hora é 2, 3 cara, 2, 3 cara.
Big numbers advantage for the side Night Shift EU. And once again, Tang, it's Shin. Just following up with whatever rotation, this mid-jungle duo truly running the mid-game.
Pegar uma água.
It's been quite a pleasure to watch. Ven's got to be so careful. Can't afford to get another member picked off. Although Sagu hit 2 shots in Import. Them to jump away. Ambushes forward. Sagu hits that Riplash though as Bondry now dives on towards Sagu. Maya here to help out, make it rain. And the inner fire prop from Sagu. So much damage on Sagu, who finally drops in the melee as Nice for you all rest the W boss and all charge and all dive at the same time. The many men crumble on their warpath. Maya will answer back, at least takes down Bondry, but it's dual lane for the offlaner.
Is back on the map, but it's not enough. Koyalari has to reset. Fangtooth gets secured by NighterDU, and they find the overextension there in the mid lane. Import with a good cull onto Sagu, even getting cancelled there by the Richter. Does not even matter, since once the fighting starts, it's going to be so hard for the Sparrow to really disengage it. And good ultimate there over the top of everyone by Shin with the Make It Rain, having that movement speed from that augment, allowing him to space just perfectly in the team fight. And then even with Bondred falling towards the end of the fight, it just does not matter, right? They get the objective, they get the picks, and now they destroy the win condition that our Venivans Manymans have been playing for this entire game, denying the 3 Fangtooth Monty.
Ela tá sendo vista, cada passo que ela dá tá sendo vista.
At the momentum, looking pretty good. Competitive, as you said, it was 4 kills to 4 at the 14-minute mark, and now 5 kills to 8. Nice you taking the first real blow, I think, of this game. As in regards, has been a lot of trading, 1-for-1, objective trades. Now Nice you definitely coming out a bit ahead for the first time with a team fight win for themselves, but how do they translate that? So we're still 10 seconds away from the All Prime spawn. Shaper also spawning on that right hand side. This is another big power play, especially if you're able to win that team fight. One objective very quickly leads into a second.
And now it's going to be harder and harder for this Venivans Manyman squad to actually walk in. Realistically, it could be the Richter, it could be the Crunch, but neither one of them really has much in the way to really escape the damage coming out of NighterDU. Meanwhile, Bond is once more a problem in the side lane, has been getting a lot of alone time, I'm gonna say, right? Even being a level down to M, has been getting a lot of those plates, has been getting this turret's gold as well for himself. He should be able to fare pretty well That being said, though, M has not been a slouch either. I think it has been those rotations by Shin that you were mentioning beforehand that has been really a pain for our Benny Vance squad.
Shin is always just in the right place at the right time, just following imports, going for these plays. I mean, if you're not able to give 2 mini primes over to Bondred, how about 3 ganks though from the mid jungle? That might just do the same thing, honestly, because Bondred hasn't hit, feel like, the breaking points. You know, when he hit critical mass in game number 1, there's still potential here for at least M to do something about it. But as this game goes on longer, Bondred will soon hit that points. Maybe we have to look to Sagu once again. Although, actually, you have done a pretty good job of keeping Sagu under control. It was just that one fight where he got the triple kill. Not been able to find much since then.
Yeah, definitely not Sparrow. It's a really hard game to play. I think those heroes, we have a lot of dive onto him. The Chimera and this Howitzer with that extra movement speed, always able to dive on top of him wherever he goes. So it's not the easiest one to play. Same for Venom, of course, on that Kalari. Really hard to find those angles. As another tier 1 claimed on the right side. We see M in the isolated 1v1, of course, winning against Bondred.
Stone for Soul comes out. Now damage though. Salvation procs from M though. Confident in this 1v1 though, but might have to back away. Forward crunch to escape. Can you just know which way the wind is blowing now? These matchups here. Bondred on the hunt. Scorn Talons will be proc there. Really wants his solo kill as M, just giving a ring around the
Chimera tá vindo.
escape, but import Neft on the way over. M though finds the only avenue, the only timeline to keep himself alive there.
And that means that everybody is on the left side. Benny Vance able to get some good wards close by to the prime pits, with M once more being the target of all the aggression out of Nightshade EU on the left side. They're recouping the vision though. Penguin getting some good D wards in, making sure that there's not going to be any shenanigans happening around this prime pits. This game could be all she wrote for Benny Vance. They had such a good run last event, our 2nd seed in summer, dropping down to the 3rd one after Nightshade EU beat them already in the winners bracket 2 weekends ago. So trying to get their revenge. It's not looking good though, TJ. This game is slightly closer. The first one was a complete beatdown. I still wouldn't count them out yet though. We talked about the scaling, this Kalari, this Sparrow, this Argus. They have a lot of ways to output a lot of damage if they can find any lockdowns.
You really get the sense though, it's as if Nightshade EU has to allow them to get a damage down. They're going to be on to them though, as M to another forward crunch. Bondred's got that Stone for Soul available once again.
É, velho, o crunch sofre.
Just honestly, this Greystone is just causing too many problems. A solo kill, everyone else arrives, but just too late to try and save the life of their offlaner.
Just M not recognizing how low that Stone for Soul cooldown actually is. Blinks forward, thinks that he finally has his chance to get revenge onto the Bondred, but instead it's him falling left hand side secret.
No, Import might be in
Nossa, olha o dano.
a lot of AoE damage put it from Shin to make it rain. Looking to try and rain on the parade. Import though does eventually drop.
Nossa, a ult da Sparrow foi horrível, velho. A ult da Sparrow foi horrível, velho. Não pegou ninguém, velho. É, aí é Prime.
And we do see that Import was the one falling for Nightshade EU, so that makes this next sequence of play.
Eles vão fazer baratão, depois Prime, Peng.
They don't have vision on him. They're still starting up the Shaper. They've Bondred check in the mid lane. Just make sure that he is always on vision with Ven. They see him on the red buff. They're gonna be able to secure this Shaper, and that should allow them to try to look for these objectives next. That's gonna be those waves.
Cara, tá se encaminhando pro NS aqui. A VV tá...
With those seedlings pushing down the lanes.
O Rodrigo ainda não entrou do jogo.
Forces them away from trying to establish that vision control, establish their positions around those crucial points of the map. Have to deal with them here, because as you say, Tang, those ceilings.
O Maier tá bem farmado aí, né?
The Nightshade EU squad making the best out of a bad situation, I feel. Honestly, sometimes from the top teams, that's what you need to do.
E não pegou, não.
I think it's going to go your way all the time. It's like, okay, we do lose Import, but we are at least able to secure the shape for ourselves and set ourselves up very nicely for when Import comes back on the map. Primal Fangtooth on the left, or Prime also available on the right-hand side. Nice you just now finally feel like, you know, it's been competitive, it's close.
Right
now
side.
looking good. Right side, Shin rotating, eyes on this crunch once again. M has honestly had a magnet on his head for R2000s as Bondru will just corral M further towards your prime.
Faz fake que eu ganho tempo.
Import moving over. Now look at the many men's go towards that go towards Primal Fang. So they have to go for this play at least whilst M is distracting, but Import and Shin are now on the way over. Primal Fang lower and lower.
Yeah, it's gonna fall.
It's gonna take that fight though. Import ambush pull towards the backline, looking to try and get away. Secret though loses life as Shin is once again in the right place and the right time with the dual lane down as well, because Nef is finding the killing blows with that revolver. Then drops down, looks to reposition, hit 2 daggers. We've got a guillotine away to safety.
Nossa, que stun. Ah, mas mesmo assim. Triple kill do Heavy. É, aqui acabou, velho. 2 a 0, tá?
If only they had the Gideon there in the team fight. Everybody stuck in the back of the pits. They get this Fangtooth, but then they are just stuck like fish in a barrel. And NightShadeU gets the team fight win. Make sure that all of these Primal Fangtooth buffs are off the table. At least the temporary buffs are gone. The permanent ones are, of course, still in many man's pocket. Still, NightShadeU getting those team fight win, getting this prime next, and now it's gonna be on to them to start opening up the map.
Ele não entrou no jogo ainda. A Sparrow tá acertando as ults.
Such a weird game, honestly, in terms of just how the tempo has been. It's like we've had these long, drawn-out moments in between plays, but as soon as the action happens, it is absolutely chaotic, to say the least. And as you say, Tang, with NightShadeU, with that all prime, they can now start to truly control this map. They've still got tier 2 towers, left lane, mid lane, and right lane, all still standing with a group up on that left-hand side. Leave M split pushing on the right-hand side, because they're feeling pretty confident in the core of the team they've got to start sieging up here. How long can the many men's hold off this wave for?
I wonder if Crunch actually managed to get this Primal Fangtooth. I think he should, right? So he is able to keep Bondrewd in check on that right-hand side. Has that temporary buff together with the permanent one, of course. So it's just going to be this left side and this mid lane that is getting pushed in. Argus and the Sparrow, pretty much the only wave clear that the many men's have in their pocket, but it's still pretty awkward to walk in. Remember, they have the Argus with the long range lockdown together with Secret on this Richter. One good hook could always spell doom for NightShadeU. Once more, it's gonna be M, the target. Everybody walking towards the right lane.
M's just got a global taunt at this point. If he just leaves this lane for like 5 seconds, immediately everyone's got the Metal Gear Solid.
Eu achei que eles iam tentar inib.
Just immediately look towards that crunch on the right hand side. But yeah, Tang, the Riplash into the Dread Over, it's a combination that we've seen in the draft like almost.
Eita porra.
Not seen it just yet connect though, as a Riplash does land onto Bondrewd. Stonefall
Olha o dano, véi.
immediately. But with the damage coming out, M and Secret ones have to back away. Give up their tier 2 tower.
Ah, a partida tá boa. Só que tá se encaminhando já pra ser do 1-0 também. O time da VV tava indo bem, só que começou a dar umas entregadas. Mas essa partida tá boa, a outra também deles foi boa. Essa daqui tá em aberta ainda. Tá definida não. Tem um crunch level 18 aí, já começa a bagaçar. Calaro tá level 17. Tipo assim, tá indo pro late, já tá no late game no caso, né? Mas tá indo do late game. A ele. É quando todo mundo fica 18 full item. Nossa, a Sparrow tomou muito dano. É. Eles vai dar tempo de chegar não.
wanting to get more, walking deep into this jungle. They're not pushing for more inhibitors. They're not pushing for their core. They're getting Venom, though, does not have the blink up, does not have the guillotine up, but with stellar movement out of the Kalari, able to make it to safety. That was so much time invested by NightShadeU as well. 3 members for Venimans close by. Primal Fangtooth started up by Nightshade.
4 versus 3. Sagu's not here for 35 seconds. Secret, Ven, and also for Maya. How's the time, boys? This time's running out. Primal Fangtooth lower and lower. Ven not go for the play. Doesn't drop down. Primal Fangtooth secured for NightShadeU. The Primal Blaze in their pockets. Go M.
É, agora chegou a vez do Crunch bater, né?
He will be the most likely target. Some camps on the way out as well, but he's finally been able to deal with Bondru though. That right hand side, getting the better of that Greystone. It's taken about 31 minutes to do so.
I think Crunch is a pretty decent matchup into the Greystone, but the problem always is that as a Crunch you need to invest everything to beat him in the 1 versus 1, and then even then with the Stoneforged Sword it's always a game changer for the Greystone. It's just been those rotation out of the man on the screen, out of this howitzer that Chin is piloting, always finding those angles where M is overextended, where M wants to punish Bondrewd for his transgressions, but always ended up being punished himself. NightShadeU, this time a lot slower than the previous game. Venimans, they keep on finding those small advantages for themselves. 3-2 in Fangtooth, and now M on the right hand side.
Caramba, é só um papelão, velho.
Target import, course of the play though.
Não, tão full item não. O Heavy tá full item, poucos estão full item. Acho que talvez a Sparrow, o Crunch tá com 5 itens. A maioria tá com 5 itens. Deve ter um suporte com 4 itens e meio no máximo. Mas o Heavy tá full item, velho. Isso é perigoso.
Shin here making sure that Ven can't go for the steal. We'll just have to triple jump over the wall, get himself to safety, try and prepare his team for another defense, but another orb
Funciona.
in the pocket of the Dawns of the side.
This is always like the awkward moment.
Pra ganhar aquela cura extra quando mata alguém, né?
To scale pretty well, but I'm not seeing it, right? It's like they're not finding those team fights where the Sparrow is allowed to free fire. They're not finding those team fights where Venom can just delete Nefta in the backline. Maybe it starts now.
He's just looking for this fight. It's the many men looking to try and split them apart. Secret to hold his own. M hits by the Reckoning as well. Quite a big cooldown to lose though. Bondrewd on the left hand side of the streams will take down the dual lane inhibitor. Should be able to now move towards the mid lane. Help the team take it down as the right lane inhibitor already fell in the previous siege. As the many men squad now corralled under their base, mid lane inhibitor drops a 5v5, one last.
Caralho, deu muito dano.
Might be all that the many men have here in the PCC fall series.
I need to see more out of Secret. I need to find a hook.
I think Secret needs to find a hook.
Nossa, olha o dano. Morreu o Rictor. GG.
Will not have be able to find that impact. Sagu jumps back in towards the base, double kill for Nef, but once again,
GG. Tem como, mano. Os cara o Heavy tava full item e free batendo. Rapaziada, eu vou dar um intervalo aqui. Eu vou ter um negócio pra fazer, tá? Compromisso. Depois eu volto aí, velho. Eu tenho um compromisso aqui, Rapidex. Depois eu volto. Eu vou ter que fechar, mano. Mais tarde der eu jogo e abro live. Mas por enquanto eu vou ter que dar uma saidinha, velho. Depois eu apareço mais. Valeu aí, muito obrigado. Vai ter mais partidas? Mano, não sei. Vai, ó. Prof e GG. Vai ter mais uma. Eu acho que a final é só amanhã. Mas eu vou dar uma parada aqui, tá? Assistam aí e depois eu volto.